Look, I know like we can get banned playing the theme music, but can I just have the theme music for me to get in the mood?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
No,
like,
I want the theme music no matter what. I can't start without it.
I want the theme music. In fact, we kind of need the theme music, Daniel, to be honest with you. Brandon and I have been discussing this.
Oh, yeah.
When we think you're not around, but we never know because you move so silent. You might be right behind us. We think we need the theme music on.
Look, I'm going to go as a giant hypocrite for everything we're about to talk about, but I have to have it or I can't do this. I need it.
I need the theme music. Episode 2, GT Fit Podcast. Did we figure out how to use a drill? No. Did we get the sign up? Yes, sort of.
Kind of, it's on an angle.
No, it's not. It's good now. That's straight. You're on an angle.
That is true, I am angled.
Yes, we're back. Episode 1 was a hit. Now, I'm pretty sure we're going to be bigger than Joe Rogan.
Oh, we got the Manscaped deal coming.
We've got the we're going to have deals left, right, and centrals.
Yep.
It's going to be crazy. Very popular. Don't want to brag. We're on Spotify. That's a brag. We're on YouTube. And Brandine, we have 2 5-star reviews.
Is this going to get
Spotify.
me censored and banned straight away? But can we tell that George is Greek?
Why can you tell that I'm Greek?
Ego.
Ego? But I included you in the ego.
Don't drag me into it.
I was inclusive.
Don't drag me into it.
You're Greek too.
Yikes.
No, all seriousness. Last episode, we talked about a lot of things, but we kept going back to mindset and language. So we discussed what we wanted to go over today, and we really wanted to focus on how you need to adopt a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset in order to see long-term results. So we have some awesome points to cover around that. It's one of the, sitting down and discussing it earlier this week, we were saying one of the main things we need to combat when people first come in is challenging the mindset and adopting that growth-based mindset to help them reach their goals. Otherwise, even if they start off well, it's hard to get any real tangible result that they can maintain. Would you agree?
Yeah, so like, it's the whole fixed mindset. It's just like an absolute mindset thing. Like, I need to do this for this reason. I have to have the piece of chocolate or whatever it may be. These are absolutes that a lot of people talk in, and everyone has them. But we don't realize that that's usually a belief system we've created in compensation for lack of something else that we're lacking a lot of those times. And then it circles back to what we go back to. It's like, well, if you come to the gym and you have like, okay, well, I need to go out on the weekend and drink my alcohol and that. It's like, okay, cool, great. But then how does that align with that goal, right? And so usually what you see with that fixed mindset is it's hard to break down. They're like, no, I have to have this, right? And that's where the difference of having a growth mindset and a fixed mindset is kind of very valuable, because like someone who's in a growth mindset is it's more, the way to simplify it is more like not hiding behind the ego.
Yeah, okay.
Because like if you're hiding behind the ego, that's I'm comfortable in this space. Like, don't change the way I am. I like the things I like, and you can't take them away from me because that makes me comfortable. But unfortunately, that's the ego. It amplifies already the bad habits that you have. It doesn't do you any good, because if you didn't need to change, you wouldn't be in the position where you realize you need to change.
That's a good point, because even like what you said there about how they're comfortable in those habits, they are harmful habits as well. So it's not like they're just feeling good doing these things. When you drink, you're hungover, you feel sluggish, your immunity's low, your energy's low. So you can see like even those habits that they are comfortable with are so uncomfortable, right? But the discomfort of, say, training and changing your routine and changing yourself is also uncomfortable. So it's a weird position, right?
It's very weird, because like even just what you said there, it just made me even realize something too. It's like people are okay, like staying up late and drinking alcohol during the week and being uncomfortable with that. But like we're not normalizing being uncomfortable doing challenging things.
Well, it's the discomfort that right?
Yeah, that's why it's funny.
A lot of people fear the unknown and are anxious about the unknown. And you see that even when people sign up to a gym. They're scared to sign up at the gym because they're going to be judged. It's intimidating. They don't know how to use the machines. They don't know where to go. it's
Spotlight syndrome, that's called. That's
there
a
you
different
go.
thing, but yeah.
Good term for it.
Yeah, spotlight syndrome.
Yeah, but it's a discomfort that they're not used to.
Mm.
So maybe it is kind of blending them into that away from the current discomfort. But it is interesting you say that the absolutes. Language, we always talk about language, right? And I think that ties into the absolutes of how they speak. I have to have this. You don't understand. I needed to do that. I needed to do this. I need my coffee at this time.
Or even just another one is like when you're doing a different training modality or like a different form of training that's harder and you can't do it straight away. I see there's a lot with clients when I give them so you start progressing their phases and you introduce like a more advanced exercise and they're so used to acing like the basic stuff, the low skill movements, that when they do, it's like, oh, I can't do it, and they get frustrated. It's like, yeah, but it's
part of it,
right?
Yeah.
But that's also having a bit of a fixed mindset there of going, well, no, I know how to do the exercise, I'm good at it. It's like, well, now you're not good at it. But the growth mindset is accepting going, well, okay, I don't know how to do this. How can I do this? How can I learn this? Like I was having language with a client yesterday where every time she would just say, oh, it's wrong. No, it's like, don't capitulate at it being wrong. Ask the question, how can I do it better? Right? Don't sit there and go, oh, give up, I can't do it. Like, it doesn't help anything. It doesn't. You're just choosing your hill to die on.
So do you think people who have more of a mindset around growth see failure differently to those people who have that fixed mindset? Because that's what it sounds like there.
Yeah, massive. Like most people see failure as like, that's the end of the road. That's it. Can't do it. It's like, but for me, failure is like, cool, that's opening the door to the next thing of going, hey, you need to learn a new skill or get better at whatever it is that you're doing here to now overcome this challenge. Yeah. That's what exponential growth is. That's how humans are designed by nature. But we've gotten to this weird thing where we look at failure as, failure. It's like an ego thing. It goes back to ego, right? I don't want to show people that I failed, right? Because I think, I always touch on this and you're going to hear me always have a little pokes at it. But because we're so habited to our lives being exposed to everyone, we don't want to show people our failures because people only display their wins.
That's a good point.
Which isn't reality either. That's not reality.
And that's social media, right?
Yeah, it's not reality.
And this is a conversation. I know I have it a lot. You have it a lot. What you see online isn't the whole truth, right? You're only seeing the good bits. You don't see the struggle.
Yeah, you don't see it.
It's hard to share. Look, it's hard to go on and just share that to everyone. I get it, but the problem is people don't consider it. I guess, like you're mentioning now, they don't really consider that you missed all the failure. Like if you look at someone who's in great shape. There's probably been points where they injured themselves, didn't train optimally, were absolutely fried from training too hard, or just struggling in general. But you don't see that; you just see the physique, and you're like, "Wow, look at them."
I just think about
it wasn't just like that.
No, it's not. I think about even myself. Like I used to be like I come from the place of like where my physique was my like what we were talking about last week. It was my vanity. It was my centerpiece of everything, and all of my success was measured based off how well my physique was performing.
Well, to touch on it, I think if your main value is just your physique and you lose it, that's going to be very crushing to your mindset.
Yeah, like so it was like even me coming from a place like all these struggles that I had where, I would only want to show people my wins, but I really inside like I was dealing with all these insecurity issues. Like my physique was nowhere ever at the level that I wanted it to be. But like along the way, like I was never broadcasting those things. So people have this perception that you're a certain way.
Yeah.
But the reality is like you're not. It goes back to that cognitive dissonance there. And I think one of the healthiest things I got comfortable with was learning to accept going, hey, I can't do this. And the first time you take that step, the way I can analogize it, it's like jumping into a cold pool. Like if you just tippy toe, it's like always it's going to stay cold the whole time. If you just jump in, it's cold for a second, you're like, oh wait, it's not so bad.
You adapt.
Yeah, and that's what I think that it's just that again when we hide in that ego, we don't take that leap or that step to go, hey, take the criticism. Like we have this weird thing where criticism gets viewed as like it's hate or it's like it's abusive, and it's like. No, criticism is absolutely the most valid way of growth.
Yeah, I think the word throws people off. Like criticism, feedback, whatever it is, but like as long as it's constructive.
It's not like it can be like if you go, you're terrible at podcasting. That's like that's not criticism. That's just
I'm working on it, man.
This is me.
But it's interesting we say because I think for like our clients and for people listening to this, it'd be on a different end. It'd be the same, but their end would be that like maybe they're really focused on their career. Like their status in their career, like where they are in their business or in the company they work for, whatever it may be, is that ego, I guess.
Yep.
How you put it. And then if you lose that, or if your health goes,
Mm.
then what do you have? So you've worked this hard and then your health is out the window. Now what? So it's the same thing. Now you can't work. Now who are you?
Well, I think another one too on that, just kind of spitballing as we go there, it's like I think touching on that and expanding on that is like people, they build themselves up in a career and they get to this high level where you've achieved all these things, you're so secure in what you do, and you come to the gym and now you're a small fry again. And that's the ego though.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're not willing to take the criticism because you've already, it feels like in one avenue you've done your hard yards of that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, anytime you enter a new area of life, whether it be training, a new job, a new hobby, you got to start at the bottom.
Yeah.
And ego, if you go in with that ego mindset, that fixed mindset of, no, I'm this way, and well, you're not going to expand and grow in it. You have to be open to that criticism in anything that you do there. But I think that's a transitional thing that people kind of struggle with. I've seen that a lot.
So fixed in that fixed mindset, then people with a fixed mindset, one thing they would be doing is only staying towards the things that they're good at.
Yeah,
but
they're comfortable.
Where's the growth?
That's exactly it. You don't grow if you're already good at doing that thing. Like if I'm good at Muay Thai and I'm just sticking to Muay Thai forever and I've maxed out, I've won every belt, I've done everything, and then what else is there to do in it at that point?
Yeah.
I'm just staying in it because
float.
I feel good in there because it's ego.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not putting myself into a new position because I don't want to be back at the bottom again.
Well, it's like if we looked at your training, right? And your training was a 9 out of 10, but your nutrition is a 4 out of 10. Are we going to have more growth from getting into a 10 out of 10 in training, or from a 4 out of 10 in nutrition up to like an 8 out of 10? Like, where's the growth?
You're going to get the growth from the nutrition. You have
but
to have them hand in
what are
hand,
you going to be
know
more
what I mean?
inclined to work on?
Yeah,
the thing you're already good at, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think that's the
That's
like what
the
you're
thing
saying.
that
That's
people
the
do,
fixed thing, and it shows itself in many different ways. But rather than working on what's uncomfortable and what you need to work on, you just get better at the things you don't necessarily need to be better at, and you just don't address the main issue.
So I think the big thing in there, like, how do people get to a growth mindset? I think the biggest thing that they have to do is, like, you have to learn, which is kind of the undertone of everything we're saying here, is learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a good thing. If you get thrown into an exercise or a role or anything in life where you're like, this makes me nervous and I don't quite know how to do it and I need to learn and get better here, that's good.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, that's become like a really stressful thing for people. I don't. It's taken time and a lot of work to get to where I am with this now, but I look at that as exciting now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, cool, because this is great. There's a whole nother thing I'm going to absorb and get better at.
Yeah,
like that's great, cool. I think we got to normalize again. I got to go back to it. It's okay to be like, hey, I can't do this. I'm not good enough to do this. Good.
I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
The acceptance of like,
I'm
not good at this, and just be open that you're not good at it. And especially if you're around other people who are trying to improve as well. It's not.
Who's perfect? Who's perfect?
No one's perfect.
No one's amazing at everything. Like we'll talk about training and all the modalities, and we'll go hard. But get me to build an IKEA flat pack.
Get me to drill in the wall.
Forget it. It's not happening. Like it's not happening. I can't do it. Right? Everyone has their strengths, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's right. But
even like fixed mindsets, like how it affects or negatively affects training.
Yeah, I think that's the part.
You know, like buzz things, like things that people say, like I'm not athletic. I don't have the genetics to do.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that.
I can't lift.
Training.
I can't deadlift. I can't squat.
Yeah, I won't be able to do that, or I can't do. I'm a mum. I can't run. I won't be able to do things like that again.
Yeah.
I always ask the question like, why are you putting a limit on yourself? Like, why can't you?
Yeah.
Just if you ever ask that question, go, okay, explain to me why you can't.
Yeah.
There's never really an answer. It's just usually more belief system, right? I believe I can't do it, so I'm not going to do it. And belief system's like I should kind of touch on that there. Like, there's a lot of case studies around belief systems. It's not something we fully grasp yet, but it really is powerful in a sense of that. If you believe something to be true, it will affirmate to be true. It's like there was one, they did a case study. I can't remember exactly how it went, but it was like two groups of hotel workers, I believe it was. And I think it was basically, they told one group, like, what you're doing for work, the movement you do and all that stuff is more than enough to lose weight, right? And then they told the other group, forget it. Like, you got to train, you got to do so much more, whatever else, right? And so then they monitored them over the next 2 weeks, and obviously it's very fascinating, but kind of like obvious at the same time, is that the group they told that, yeah, what you do for work, you're going to lose all this. They started losing weight. And the other group actually started gaining weight. Right. And the reason for that, it's not that like, oh, you believe it and then magic happens, but your belief system, it directly impacts your subconscious actions.
Yeah, 100%.
So you don't realize, like those women didn't realize that then they started actually moving more. They started working a bit harder. They actually subconsciously were eating a bit better. Whereas the other group, because they had this, oh, well, fail, I can't do it. They just didn't even attempt, and they just kind of threw the toys out of the pram and just kind of gave up. And so like when you have these negative mindsets around yourself, that's why you can't do it, because you're not going to apply yourself, because it is a weakness in a way, because it's just putting this thing, I can't do it because of that.
Yeah, it's self limitations.
Yeah,
like you're just putting those limitations in front of yourself, and you're not going to exceed them if you keep them there. But I think like what you said, you can wire yourself to look for the positives, for the negatives, look for the things to excel in, and you can also wire yourself to just hold yourself back, basically. But you see it a lot with like gratitude, like journaling and stuff like that. People will write down things that they're grateful for, like every day, and then all of a sudden they're just naturally looking for things to be grateful for, and their mood improves and their energy improves. Whereas someone who is always kind of focusing on the negatives, they're always having bad days. Like
it's funny to me, because like it's such an obvious one, right? You see people in this negative mindsets and stuff, and I always point out, like, not that we're all going to be the top 1% of the world, but you look at it as a standard to uphold. Is that you look at the people at the top of the game, even if it's not what you agree with and whatever else, you just use it as a thing for learning. So you look at like your Jeff Bezoses or even athletes and stuff, and you see it, what are they doing, right? And you look at all these habits that they do pick up, journaling, right? They do meditation, breath work, they're doing things right. And then people who aren't doing it wonder why they're not like what people at the top are. But you're not doing the work.
And that doesn't mean everyone has to meditate.
No,
but there's benefits to meditation.
Yeah, it's contextualized to you.
You have your version of that. You have your version of that. You can do breathwork, meditation, journaling, whatever works for you. But it's something where you're seeking betterment. But that's, again, to go back into that fixed mindset. It is a mindset where you aren't seeking betterment. You're not seeking to improve. You may be in one area that you're comfortable in, as we touched on. But I'd love to get into and get your thoughts on, how do people with this fixed mindset approach training? What are the commonalities you see with people who come with this fixed mindset?
Usually, to me, I think sometimes they use it as a shield. So they're like, oh, I can't do it. I've got this bad knee, so don't make me squat.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like, I don't even want to attempt to dive into this challenge of doing it.
Because of the failure of it,
Because they're scared of failing.
Yeah.
Or they're scared of hurting themselves because they've had a bad experience, which is understandable. That's a different kind of thing in itself there.
Yeah, of course.
But every person I come across will come up with something. And sometimes it's not always at the start. Sometimes you need to actually get them a bit more advanced in their training, and that you find things come up to the surface a little bit deeper. But when you have a negative fixed mindset against training, like I can't do this again, well then it's like, well, if you think about the goal you want to lose weight. What is someone who's losing weight? What are they doing? Well, okay, it entails some of the things that you don't want to do. So you have to accept the reality that, okay, well, I look at it as, well, if you have a mindset that I don't want to do this, I question that mindset and go, what is causing you to think that way? What's happened to you to have that belief system around yourself?
Yeah.
Again, approaching it from the empathetic mindset. Because again, you don't want to be just coaching or like, oh, well, that's dumb, just think like this.
It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work that way at all.
You know what, though? I think what people don't realize, and maybe like a lot of people resonate with this, but you're only comparing really against yourself.
Yeah.
We've had the opportunity to work with a lot of people, a lot of different injuries, a lot of different situations, work-wise, lifestyle-wise. So we've seen it. And Alex Hormozy has a great quote. Someone out there has it harder than you and has done it better than you, always.
Yeah.
So, which sounds a bit like brutal, but it's true. Like, if you struggle because you have kids, well, someone else has more kids and still trains and still eats well. And the scenario has played out positively before.
Yep.
So it's possible, right? So that eliminates like this whole, it's impossible to do it. No, it's not impossible. It's just hard. It's going to be hard to do it. It's different.
So you're willing to do the stuff, right?
But then, when we've had clients like you have Kathy, who had a traumatic accident, broke her spine, and you see the amazing things she can do today. When someone comes in with their injuries, and not to discredit their injuries, but you've seen higher grades of injury and problems, and then you've seen the other end, because not fixed mindset, or maybe she started with a fixed mindset and then became more a growth mindset. When we see that, we know what's possible and what's not.
Well, to be fair, when you say that, you know that, like, without sounding cringy personal trainer, but literally anything is possible. It's just a matter of how much time and commitment and work you're willing to put towards. That's as simple as it is.
Yeah.
It really is, and I hate to say that, but it really is that. It's just, can you do the work?
Yeah.
Are you willing to do the work? But again, too, but when people are like, oh, I'm not willing to do the work. Okay, well, good. I feel that's the spot there where people go, oh, I'm not willing to do it, give up. They would give up before they even try. But it's like, no. Challenge that mindset on yourself. Like, you're a human being. If you don't have the want to be better or improve, I would always ask yourself to reflect on the why. Because that sounds like there's a negative thing over you there that's dragging you into a bit of negativity, which isn't normal. It isn't normal, because a healthy mind is always seeking positivity and things to make you better. Yeah, 100%.
Because that's going to show itself in other aspects of your life, not just your training.
Everything.
But interesting, like on what you said there, like something you said there just reminded me of this. But I was talking to Jade, one of our clients, yesterday, and she's lost 14 kilos. She's done amazing. She's been training here for the last 2 years. One thing she said to me was the process was easier than she expected. She thought it was going to be harder to achieve her goals, and she's achieved more than what she intended to, and she's still, like, now that she has new things that she's excited about working on. But it's interesting because she came in with the mindset that this is going to be too hard to do, but it was actually the other end.
Analysis by paralysis sometimes.
Paralysis by analysis.
Paralysis by analysis.
It's exactly that.
It's overthinking the things. Like, I always say that to people too, and they're like, wow, weight loss is so hard. I'm like, no, it's not. I will never give it the thing that it's hard, because doing the action, it's actually not hard. It isn't. What's hard is where are you at in life? Where's your mindset? Where's your brain? That's the challenge. And that's why a lot of the times, like, it's sad, because I see people, they get discouraged by the gym. They go to the gym and they're like, oh, I didn't work for 6 months. And it's like, okay, but you've entered it in the wrong mindset. It's like you're entering a drag race, but you're entering it with a semi-trailer. Like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one. That's kind of, again, I'm sure you've come across a lot of people that have given up before they even try on things like that. Yeah. And again, because their belief system or perception of themselves, or what they expect out of the gym too.
Which we touched on last week.
Yeah, we touched on
expectations.
Yeah, managing expectations, but it all aligns.
It's a big one, but it's a big one for you as well. So if you, because again, you might just be kind of discrediting your good work. You might be doing really well, and then you get frustrated because your expectation was too high.
Yep.
Or your expectation might be too low as well. There's the other end too.
Yeah.
But generally, it's the other way. It's too high, or they want it done like that, because we're in the era of convenience.
Yeah, the instant gratification thing. That's the big thing. Like, you got different sections of your brain that do wire to different dopamine or serotonin triggers, and like, you got short term, you got long term, you got long formatted dopamine reward, and that's a big thing that I think people have lost that ability to. And the thing with the gym and anything you're going to do, so it's like these mindsets, it's almost creating like a false sense of security. We have these mindsets, like, because you want everything fast, you want it done quick, you don't want to be in it for long, but it's like, no, but you have to be in it for long. It is a long format thing. It is going to take years. Like, some people genuinely, like, you can't, like, I see this, like, someone with a high body fat percentage, they've never trained in their life, they've got injuries, and it's like, oh, I want to be lean in 6 months. It's like,
how are you going to do it? Like, you can, but again,
you've got to be perfect from the get go.
But also, to be honest, if we have that fixed mindset, what are the chances that you could be perfect?
It's not going to happen.
And do you really want to be perfect?
But again, on that too, but why would you want it to be fast? Why would you want something that you're now adopting for the rest of your life to be done in 6 months?
I don't think they see it as adopting it for the rest of their life, is the thing. And this is why you have to fall in love with the process, not the outcome. You need to enjoy the training. You need to enjoy your time working on your body. You need to enjoy the food, right? If you're going to eat clean, like clean food or food that aligns with a healthy lifestyle, and it's boring, you made it boring. But two, you have to enjoy it. You're not going to stick to it. No. Like, I'm not going to eat chicken breast with broccoli and rice every single meal. It's not going to happen. It won't. For a short-term period, if I needed to do that, of course. But if we're looking long-term, no, you need to enjoy training. You need to enjoy your food. And if you can't find a way to enjoy it, you have to at least appreciate it and respect it enough that you know it has to be part of your life, just like paying taxes and rent and that sort of thing.
Well, I think the biggest
needs to be
thing
done.
is like people need, I think, because again, to get into that growth mindset of perceiving it that way or having that perception, I think people need to give themselves like pay more attention to the little wins.
I agree. Yeah.
So like
100%.
like because again, it's like, okay, well, if you're not six pack and shredded and bodybuilding, if that's your goal, and you haven't done it, it's like, okay, well, because it's not done yet doesn't mean you failed. Like, have a look at what you've done along the way, right? Like, okay, so has your mobility improved? Okay, you've gotten stronger. Are you sleeping better? Okay, all these things that are happening. And then that's how you can, when you start to have that realization, you can start altering your brain to being a more like, okay, absorbing, okay, this, if I do this now happens.
Yeah.
That's starting to develop a growth now, instead of being like, oh, okay, well, I've been doing training for 6 months now, it's failed, I haven't done it. It's like, okay, well, that's a fixed mindset. There's the difference there.
Yeah.
And that's the difference of understanding. It's like, the time is, I guess, in a way, is almost irrelevant, because it really just depends on how much and how strong you can get that brain to do what you need it to do. Because like I've seen it with clients where they come in and their mindset's pretty good, and you can just boom, just go.
Yeah, 12 kilos, 12 weeks. You see it.
You see it. It is rare. I'm not going to like sugarcoat it. It is rare because it's hard to do. But again, I don't think that's a fault by anyone. Again, this is going on a bigger scale. This is something that's happening in society, and it's been happening over X amount of years, and it is getting worse. But yeah,
you mentioned focusing on the little wins. I think, like, to give a bit of context to that as well, if you're trying to lose, say, 20 kilos and you've lost 5, if you're focusing on 20, 5 doesn't seem like much.
Yep.
But 5 kilos is making a big difference to your health, right?
Massive.
And if you were to grab a 5 kilo dumbbell and walk around with it all day, I guarantee you'd get tired.
100%
right?
would, yeah.
So little things like that, when you think of it that way, you appreciate the result a bit more. And I think going hard mentally and just putting your intention towards the little wins is what really propels you towards the big one.
Yeah, because that's what you got to get. Because like, all right, like, let's say even if you've been training with a trainer at a gym and you haven't lost weight, or it hasn't been coming down, or doing the thing that you want over like say first couple months or whatever, but it's like, okay, well, you're sleeping better and your food is better. So let's imagine you did your blood work, and like what people don't see, because again the mindset is not there, is you don't see that right now, if you were staying on the trajectory with those bad habits and those food, if you look at your blood work of what it would look like versus what you're doing now, it's like, well, you've just added 10 years to your life. But you don't see that because that's the end of your life. Or you've just seen that your now aging process is now going to be delayed a little bit longer because you're starting to move. The bone density is going to be remaining longer, the muscle mass, et cetera, all those things are going to still be happening because you're active and you're preventing waste, right? We're preventing breakdown. But again, you don't see that because you're here in the now. Right? And we're thinking about what we don't have. We're not present with like what we're doing and what it's achieving in that outcome. And that's why, like, again, I sound like a broken record, but having that mindset is so important, because you're going to recognize along the way what you're actually doing, and recognizing it along the way is what's going to keep you going for the long term. So if I go to work and I get paid once a month, or I don't even get paid, am I going to go to work? I said this last week, but I'm not going to do it. Right? Same thing here. If you're going to the gym and you're doing all this work, all these extra changes, and you're not recognizing those wins, it's a miserable existence, because you never feel like you're winning. Nothing is good enough because you haven't done the goal.
That's a good point. I think you're right there. It's probably a lot of awareness, isn't it? So, again, the small wins, one, being aware of the small wins, being aware of the different types of wins as well, like blood work improving,
That's
sleep
massive,
quality improving, energy levels improving day to day, gut health, all these things that have a day to day sort of impact. If you're aware of those and you're aware of the improvements there, then you're going to stay the course, right? Yeah,
because that's a big one when people, like, it blows my mind when they don't react to seeing improvements there, because I'm like, okay, in what other scenario on your daily life by yourself would you have been able to do that without the information or knowledge being presented to you, or you being made aware of what you're doing is steering you in that direction?
You wouldn't, but that's why people stay with...
You wouldn't, but that's that's again, because I think we put too much credence on the milestones in life. Like, you got the career, you got the house, you got the family. Cool, you success at life. It's like, okay, but there's about 1 million stepping stones along the way to achieve those things too. Why aren't these being highlighted?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can't just become a really good parent because you now just have kids. You don't just suddenly gain powers to be a parent.
Yeah.
You have to build yourself up as a human, get stronger in the mindset, learn, have your experiences. Then you can have. But people don't see those growing pains.
That's true,
right?
And I think it's a little bit like the social media stuff too. You get the house, okay, you also got the mortgage now, and all the bills that come with it.
Yeah, and how much you're working to pay off that mortgage.
You've got the promotion, but with the promotion comes more responsibility.
That is such a perfect one, even to people who are at their goal.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, look, your shred. It's like, oh, it's so easy for your shred. It's like, okay, have you seen what they've done to get there and also what they're doing to maintain it?
Exactly.
The habits, the consistency, the constant discipline that they're always having. Like, you don't see that because, again, we just highlight our wins and then that becomes the focus for everyone is just have the win to display the win. But also, too, if you're trying to do the win to display it, well, you're not doing it for you. You're doing it for other people.
Exactly.
And
that's right.
You're not doing it for yourself there. And that's also another big problem in itself because it's like, my coach said this. I'm going to misquote it and butcher it. Sorry, Marshall. But he described it as like when you're not aware of yourself or like you're doing what you want to do. You're not true to yourself. You're like a mosaic of everyone else's different personalities. They're just stitching you together and putting parts. And you're doing things, but you don't know why you're doing them.
Yeah.
Right? And then a lot of people go through life. They have a job or they go through whatever it is that they're doing. And it's like you haven't actually done the thing that you want to do. You know what I mean? And again, because it's like, again, you're just doing what you believe is you have to do because of what's being what the standard that's being put on you.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, you gotta be jacked and shredded. Okay, you do it. Okay, well, why do you need to do that? You know what I mean? It really just depends.
So with that fixed mindset, and when people do take that step to reach their goals and they're working on themselves, what is the breakthrough moment you see with people when they're going from that fixed to growth mindset?
Depends on the context because it can be through training, it can be through food, it can be through a habit, it can be through so many different things. It just depends on what that battle is for that person. But like a good example would be like, usually when I see people when we have to bring calories up and, you know, the hesitancy of like, so again, the mindset I usually see is, oh, if I eat more calories, I'm going to get fat. Belief system. And it's like, well, no, it's not how it is because context matters. Yeah, if you're eating a surplus, you know. But usually, like if I see someone, increase the calorie, I go like, look, just humor me. Let's do the calorie increase this week, push through it, and let's see what happens. And I can always see they're hesitant and uncomfortable. And sometimes it takes a couple of weeks for them to be like, all right, I'm going to try this, right? And then they do it and they go through that uncomfortable week and then it yields the result and you see the reflection of what you expect to happen. And and then after that once, but again, it's getting that win. But the way they get that breakthrough is that you have to go through the fire.
Yeah.
You have to go through the fire. You're not going to get that win unless you've got to commit to it. You've got to dive into it. You've got to do the thing. If you don't do the thing, you're not going to get the reward. It's as simple as that.
I think what throws a lot of people off too in that, I guess, that weight loss context and the calories, everyone's looking at calories in and out, right? And you need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. And then people are like, well, then that means I can't eat more. Well, if you're in a 60% deficit just from the way you're eating and your food gets bumped up to the point where you're just in a 20% deficit, it's still a deficit.
Still a massive deficit.
Well, I think that's what people don't realize. They think, well, I'm eating this much, so anything more than that is a surplus. No. But it's not their fault. It's just the information online. There's not much context. And it's very confusing. And a lot of people contradict each other. So on what you're saying, that trust process where you've got to walk through the fire and you've got to do it, unfortunately, they're also combating a lot of conflicting information. So you can see the hesitancy. But when you do, that's when the magic happens, right? Yeah.
But again, the overarching thing there, and to contextualize it and you give it, any sort of other examples, like, anything that yields a result. I mean, like, you give birth. Most women wouldn't say it's an enjoyable experience. But would you say the child you get after that doesn't give you a lifetime of joy?
Yeah.
Right? Of course. But you go through 9 months of hell. Yeah. Right? And to have a child, like, there's a price of admission for everything in life. Like, I literally will challenge anyone to find something that you get truly rewarded with where you don't have to sacrifice something.
Yeah, nothing worth having comes easy.
Well, you're not going to find it. It just doesn't exist. Everything, even if you want to go easy, you want to be clever with that and go, okay, I just didn't go on my phone and get dopamine. Okay, well, you're sacrificing time and your brain and your ability to have a functional brain to then sit there and get dopamine through a phone. It's like there's still a price of admission. You have to sacrifice something, and that's what understanding challenge is.
Yeah.
And again, like I wish it was like could show people like, oh yeah, you don't have to do it. Unfortunately, it's black and white. You have to do it that way, or you don't, and then you just stay in the same patterns forever. Yeah. And again, I'm sure everyone's seen it. You see people that you can see that is one to do. Actually, is like every 10 years of your life, you should look back and go, am I different? Like if I'm 30 now, am I still doing the same things I was when I'm 20? And unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, but if you are, you've miserably failed at life. Like you've made some pretty wrong steps.
Yeah,
right.
That's
because
true.
You should be progressing through life, and that stings people and it hurts. But again, this goes back to what we're talking about. The overarching thing here: critique and challenge. These are good things.
But also, if that hurts, it's probably true.
Yeah, but
right?
It's true, yeah,
If that hurts you and you're like, wow, that's brutal, well, you're probably in the same place and you don't want to be there.
Yeah, and the people that do say that to you too, I think people take that, again, going back to what I was saying before, is that's offensive. It's like, no, that's empathetic.
It's what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. They care enough to tell you, hey, look, what you're doing is not going to take you in the direction you want. This is what you need to do. Ouch. Cool. And challenge is uncomfortable. Now I'm uncomfortable. Cool. Be in that.
Yeah.
Accept the critique. Then you can start being on your way to get better.
Yeah.
All right. That is that growth mindset there. That's what it is in essence. It's really simple at the end of the day. It's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah. Ben Pekulski said something, like famous old bodybuilder, said something about goals that I really love. You should wake up in the morning and your goals should terrify you.
Should terrify
you. Should terrify you and be like, oh shit, I'm doing this. And you're freaking out and you don't know if you're going to get it or not.
You should be uncertain.
But you're going through the fire, like you said, and you're pushing. Most people, it's so uncomfortable that they can't deal with that. But that's the excitement, right? You're not sure if you can get there, but you're shooting really high. And then you do get there. Or even if you don't, you get a lot further than what you would have, basically.
Well, think of it like this. It's like, explain it in like a bit of a scientific way as well too. It's like, if you ever find yourself like you're looking at your phone, you're just looking at it, you're scrolling, like, why am I doing this? And think about it, right? Why do we look at the phone? Well, we want enjoyment. We're looking for entertainment. We're looking for something. The brain's seeking something, but we just do it out of habit. And a lot of the time is like what people don't see is that the pain, it's pain, pleasure, reward system. The pain is what makes the pleasure so pleasurable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If I just buy your Lamborghini right now, right? You oh wow, thank you. But you're not gonna appreciate it versus the person who's worked their entire life.
Yeah.
They finally buy it, right? You've sacrificed something, the difference in that appreciation that person's gonna have for that, right? That's what's creating that emotional attachment to it. But it's only because you've suffered. So like it's like if you go, I'm so tired, I need a rest. Sit down and watch Netflix all weekend and tell me if you want to do it anymore after that. The reward can become pain too. Yeah. And this is another thing that's so crazy too, where people don't say it because like we black and white. It goes, the things that are good for us are painful and they're hard to do, but the easy things are easier and they give me enjoyment. But also, most people are dealing with anxiety issues, depression, this and that. So really, is that actually rewarding you? It's not. It's actually that's becoming pain now. People don't realize that the enjoyment is sometimes pain, and it can just be flipped. And again, that's perception, and it can be contextualized, right? But you will only have reward from paying admission. Yeah, you're not going to get it any other way, right? Yeah. And what the beautiful part about it, it's like the first time you train legs, you're like, oh my god, my legs, you can't walk for a week, and you're like, well, you go the first time you sit on the toilet after you train legs. Oh,
you need a railing to get yourself up.
And you think in that moment, like, how am I going to continue to do this? But then all of a sudden it gets easier. You get used to it.
You adapt.
You adapt. And the same thing here, you actually, it's weird what happens. It actually flips that when you're doing the hard work, it's weird when you get really in tune with your brain and your central nervous system and your body and who you are, it actually becomes enjoyable. Yeah. Even though you still get the dopamine after, you feel amazing because you did it, but you're still enjoying the hard work of it. Like I love like sparring's a perfect example of it. Like you can't breathe, you're belted, you're bleeding, you're bruised up, and you're just in it. And after you finish, like, it's amazing. But in there, you're still suffering, but it still feels amazing. The first time you do it, it's awful.
But afterwards, your mood, your energy levels, it's like when you finish it, you have a good workout, you finish it, you feel great. You might be going in there thinking, like, oh, this is going to be a hard one, or maybe dreading it depending on who you are, but then you finish and you feel great and you feel happy about it.
Perfect example is like people when they first start training, like, it hurts, I don't want this. Whereas someone who's been training a long time, it hurts, yes, I'm happy because I'm just working.
Like the DOMs,
yes, I'm getting out.
I can feel my quads, I can feel my glutes,
Right, it's just context. But again, people like pedestal those people and go, oh wow, they're amazing. But they started where you were.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
every,
You
we
just
all,
don't see that.
we
You
all
don't see
started as a baby that couldn't do anything, just pooping ourselves and we're weak and
Some of us stay like that.
Some of us stay like but that's the issue.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
It is.
That's the issue. It's just because those are the people that some people are, genetically just more wired better, right? They just get things where they're like, they're good. They've got higher testosterone and they are stronger by definition. But that doesn't mean that, again, going back to what we're saying, that because you're not there, right? Just because it's like a car race. How does that work, right? You do time trials and someone gets to start at the pole position, some start at the back. That doesn't mean the pole position is going to win.
Yeah.
That's not how it works, but that's the same thing in life. Just because
some people start ahead.
Some people start ahead and they get there faster, but it just means you have more steps. Just cop it.
Well, you shouldn't compare anyways.
You shouldn't compare.
It's not relevant.
But regardless, people are going to compare.
Yeah.
In a sense of not comparing because like, oh, I want that physique. I want to look like that person or have that lifestyle. But I think people look at it and it seems so unattainable.
Yeah.
Because of where they are.
It's so far.
It's so far that like, I can't get it.
Which goes back to focusing on the small wins, right? Instead of looking at that all the way in distance, be aware of it, but here's the first checkpoint, and then the next, and the next, and before you know it, you're at the end. You're there.
Just get there, and all of a sudden you wake
and
up.
You have new goals because you realize what you're capable of.
I remember there was a time where I was like, I just wanted to be like 70 kilos and like lean because I was so skinny. And like I was like, I remember like, well, if I get there, that'll be like, that's it, that's the goal. It's like I walk around now at 77 kilos, like shredded, and I'm like.
I was the same. When I started gym, I was 51 kilos.
That's not a flex. That's just an example of what I mean, right? The perception at one point in time, that was my everything. Now I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, this is whatever. What's the next thing?
Same for me though, like, because I was 51 kilos. I was like, if I get to 55, I'll be cheering. I got to 55. Then it was 60. Then it was 65. And then I'm hitting plateaus. I'm finding out about protein powder and all these crazy things. And Bro George is trying everything to gain weight. Aminos. And I saw that Hugh Jackman was drinking protein shakes in the middle of the night. And I got to, I think, 70 kilos and I couldn't gain any more weight. So I was like, well, if Hugh Jackman's doing that and he's Wolverine, then I should do that. So here I am at 2 a.m. having mass gainer with milk, stomach cramps, like almost in tears. Just like trying anything to gain weight. But you keep hitting the small goals.
I just feel my intestines inflame when you said that.
Oh, yeah, it was gross. Bro George did some crazy things that he wouldn't recommend to anyone. Yeah. I say crazy, like they were like...
Don't have mass gainers. Don't have mass gainers.
I had so much mass gainer. I had so much mass gainer.
I'll never forget.
Do you remember Serious Mass? Serious Mass, one scoop was this shaker. So I would have to have 2 shakers.
Yeah, I never forget the first time I started. This is a little funny thing. I'm not going to name names or anything, but like, I went to my first sub shop after I first started getting in the gym, and the guy working there is like, "You're gonna have this mass gainer, like you're not gaining otherwise. So here's the diet you're gonna have: you're gonna have mass gainer with a banana. Then at lunch you're gonna have a mass gainer with another piece of fruit, and then at dinner you can have mass gainer with another banana. And you can get so jacked. Like I was like thinking back, it's like, but people got naive, just like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, man.
Crazy. Yeah, no, I spent a fortune on mass gainer. That's for sure. But you learn. You learn along the way.
But that's the thing too, right? You learn because you fail.
Yeah. Failure's great. But you look at all highly successful people, they failed way more than they succeeded. But their failure is lesson.
I remember.
It's lessons, not failures.
There's a beautiful one. So I used to train this client, and I watched his business grow rapidly. He went from making a decent amount of money to an absurd amount of money very fast, right? But long story short, he moved to this place, and the owner, there was this guy who, it was real fascinating, just the mindset, like to show you how crazy it can be. He was a millionaire, like selling like surfboards or something back in the day. Anyway, stuff happened. He went bankrupt.
Wow.
Lost everything. And so he was just like, okay, I'll just start again. And so he just started again from the bottom, like with nothing, and just worked. And now he's back to being a millionaire.
Well, that's the thing with self-made people.
Crazy.
The basic thing is that you can take everything from them, chuck them somewhere where they don't know anyone,
and
they'll make the money back, basically. Because it's self-made. It wasn't given to them.
Yeah.
They had to develop their character. They had to develop their skill set so they could make it.
Yeah,
so they can survive.
Again, I think people think of them as like superheroes, like they got some magic power bestowed on them. And it's like, no, they just learned skills and how to do things. That's all.
Honestly, I find they come from very bad beginnings.
Yeah,
honestly,
they usually come from
hard times, a lot of traumatic experience, to be honest with you, where they didn't have a choice but to work hard. And that's the other conversation I like to have with people as well, because you mentioned this last week too, where they kind of just fixate on the person's end result and I wish I had your motivation or your body or this or that. you don't see what that person went through. They came from situations you wouldn't imagine.
You
and
don't
you don't want to be there.
Yeah, you don't wanna
Like, just look at what they've accomplished and be inspired and do your own way of that, because you don't want that. And that's why, to this guy's credit, probably the same thing. He lost everything and was like, okay, time to rebuild.
I just think how many in a different context, how many people at that point like go on heavy, like people commit suicide over things like that. They go, that's the end of my life. And this guy's just like, no, I have to make it back again.
Yeah.
But again, that to me is like the craziest thing ever, because there's no reaction. There's no emotional reaction. It's just accepting that, okay, this failed.
Yeah.
I'm back at the bottom. No ego. Okay, I'm nothing again. Cool. That's okay. I'm going to get back there. And then you just build yourself up. An athlete, when they have a horrific injury.
Same thing.
Right?
That's their life. That's their livelihood taken away from them.
Everything like...
That's their identity.
Everything. Like you do see some fighters not cope well with it. And you can see the ones that have good teams and ones that don't.
Yeah.
Right? And it really shows. But like, I mean, like a recent one, like Red Tank. And he had a pretty horrific... I think it was a knee injury. I think it was ACL or something. He was out for like 2.5 years or something. And a lot of people, like, you imagine, like, the thing that you love the most gets taken away from you, you're not allowed to do it now for 2.5 years.
It's also how you make a living.
It's how you make a living. That's your everything, right?
Yeah.
Imagine what that does to you. You don't know anything else. You don't have any other skills. You got nothing. This is all it is. It's like, imagine that position you're in. But they don't sit there and go, oh, that's it. It's time to give up.
Yeah.
They go, okay, what's the fastest way I can get back to it? What have I got to do to get back to it?
Yeah.
And put the head down, you work, came back, wins his first fight, back, destroys everyone, and he's back to just where he was.
Yeah.
And in perception, and I always say this too to people, like when you have like things happen in life, it's like, all right, look at the scale of how long your life is. This little period that you're reacting to, that's the end. It's a blip. You've actually probably forgotten more bad times than you actually remember of the good times, which is crazy.
I think you just need to be in it. Have your rant, but then work on it. I remember when I went out on my own in PT. I got a job at Fitness First, and then we went into lockdown. And I remember, like, Anthea had COVID. She was isolating. It was when COVID first started. She's isolating in a room. I'm by myself. I have this massive rant to her about how nothing goes right. Then it's like, okay, now what? Because I have no job, I have no money, and I can't go work anywhere. And then it's just into gear.
Yeah.
Start building. And then through that lockdown, that 3-month lockdown, coming out of it, I was busier than ever. And then that's how all this sort of started.
That's because you didn't capitulate.
But have your rant. I had my crazy rant to her.
We all know me. I will whinge about something. I have the big, and then I'll sit there and be like, all right, now how do I fix it?
Now what?
Yeah. Now what do I do? And then I get it out of me, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to deal with it. Right?
Yeah, but I think that's the difference. I think people let it break, like they let the adversity break them, and you just got to walk through it. You just got to go through it.
Got to walk through
Feel it. It's okay to be upset about it, feel it, but there's a difference between dwelling on your problems, dwelling on your problems, and then like just feeling it, but moving forward with it.
Yeah, I think that's a little side note on that one there, because that actually goes back to central nervous system regulation and people not having that control over their bodies at all. But again, that's a whole nother thing.
That's a topic for another episode.
Topic for another day. That's a whole another kettle of fish. But this is where it's interesting too, because a lot of even the things we talk about, and this is where we'll expand on it in future podcasts, and that is that, like, even just that mindset, that's one component to it, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a physiological reason why your mind is like that.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
There's the emotional. There's a many different sides.
Like if I just touch on it, like a perfect example, we're talking like I had a client yesterday. She's expecting the weight to come down. We looked at it. Up and food was amazing. She's like, no, my food's been good. I've been training. Why am I not losing weight? I looked at her sleep. I'm like, you're not breathing. It's on the sleep cycle. She's falling in and out of sleep. And I even said you're actually getting low oxygen. And so what's interesting here is like we've been working on doing journaling because she's having a lot of cortisol issues like stress reactions and anxiety. But now it's very fascinating because it's like, well, her anxiety and emotional state is heightened and a lot worse because she's actually physiologically not breathing in her sleep, which is ruining her sleep, which is now elevating her cortisol, which is now why she's stressed and anxious.
That's a form of sleep apnea. Like that, you're basically dying in your sleep.
You're basically dying in your sleep.
Coming back to life. Like, that's basically what's happening. So that's what's more stressful on the body than that.
Yeah, and that's where going back to it. It's to branch into opening up to what we're going to talk about in future things there. It's not always just the thing. It sometimes can be physical components that do exacerbate certain issues or whatever else. I mean, that one to me was a real fascinating one because when we saw it, we're like, that's the breakthrough moment. Okay, that's what's happening.
The thing with these breakthrough moments where people really start just pushing towards result now. There's the acceptance we talked about, just letting go of the ego. It really does come down to you just got to be all in and be ready. Unfortunately, a lot of people need to experience a lot of pain before they get there. Most people have to experience a lot of pain. It's unfortunate because it doesn't have to be that difficult, but that's where it is. It gets to the point where like the doctor tells you have to do something about your health. Yeah. You're going on these medications. You've had this health scare, and then it's like, okay, now I'm going to do something. Do you really want to leave it that late? Because you're also doing it compromised at that point.
It's the only time I will say it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like it is, you got them. Sorry, these are the cards you've been dealt with, but you got to make it work now. Like
that's it.
And that's okay. That's okay. Like everyone's got their levels, and that's where it goes back to. Don't compare. Don't set a standard. I need to be like this person. No, do it to your thing. And do you know what a really big one is too? And this the last little one there, I forgot to touch on it before, is get comfortable with seeing people around you win and be more successful with you.
Be happy for
them. Be happy for them. Oh my God. When you can be happy for someone having utmost success, it removes this layer of toxicity and it takes this hardship on yourself because you're now not putting this expectation on yourself like, oh, look, that person's doing better than me now. I feel like shit.
Yeah.
It's like, no. Hey, wow, you're doing amazing. Be inspired. I want to now try and do that.
Yeah.
Use it as admiration. Like I used to be like one of those people to like, I couldn't handle seeing someone do better than me. And then as I got, started learning to deal with challenges, it flipped and I started being like, hey, look at that guy. He's doing amazing. That's mad.
I think that's your competitive nature too.
I am super competitive. I can't, like if I play football with like 8-year-olds, I'm going to 2-foot them and like I'm winning this game. Like,
you got to teach them who's boss though.
You're not going I'm the tough uncle. Like, you're not going to win with me, unfortunately. Like, hey, Daddy, can we spar? All right, get the 12 ounces on, brother. Let's do it. No, not really. I wouldn't do that to my little beautiful children that I don't have yet. But
you don't have yet that you know of.
That they will be fighting Muay Thai one day.
Yes, all of them.
All of them.
All 8 of them.
Yeah, but no, enjoy seeing people win. That's a crazy one because people want to see you do well, but they don't want to see you do better than them.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I always found that difficult because I've naturally always been the other end where I get excited for other people who do well. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm curious, like, what are you doing differently? This is awesome. I love Wolfpack, like the mentoring group I'm a part of. Because I just see everyone win. I'm like, that is sick. I love it. I love being around it. It improves my mood.
It's such a nice feeling. It actually is just it's free dopamine.
It is. It's like free dopamine. People go on their phone and do it on Instagram. Like for me, I see like my mates in Wolfpack and all these other people like I associate with that they're just killing it. I'm like, this is sick. This is awesome.
Looking and going, oh, why don't I have this? Why can't I have that? It's like, no.
You also see them struggle and fail. Yeah. And it's in that openness there. It's like it helps you relate when you go through it too. You're like, shit, you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're struggling with that as well. It's not just me.
And you see how they cope with it.
Yeah.
You see how they deal with it too.
But see, I think so. Maybe part of this like mindset thing too is maybe look at your circle.
Oh, that's a big one.
Maybe look at your circle. Are they like that as well? Are they not wanting to be challenged? Are they only focusing on
I think I mentioned something like that last week. It was like, look, you will get to this part where you start growing and all of a sudden you will notice your circle. Like, why don't I get along with these people anymore? Like, I'm not feeling the energy there. So if you notice your friends starting to bring you down all of a sudden, that's probably because you're on the up.
Yeah.
You're starting to climb up. That's a time to start going, okay, well, if these guys aren't going to come up with me, don't be scared to just cut those ties, make new friends. Right? Yeah. You're going to go through levels and like, if you're this insecure, anxious person, well, you're going to make friends with those type of people. But now getting confidence, you're not going to relate with them anymore. You're going to be one with people like you. And that's okay. Like friends, you're going to have friends for life. And I get all that. But you've got to look at friends as a valuable tool. Sometimes you got to have those friends that you got your close friends, the ones that you grow up with. Fair enough, right? That's going to be for whatever. They're more like family almost. But you got to have those friends where it's like, it's networking. It's the elevate competition in a way, but healthy competition, not negative. Like, it's like how we have with our trainers here. Like, it's competitive, but it's also like, hey, you did well.
Nice. Yeah.
Good on you. That's
you like hearing it. Like, you hear that they did something, and it's like, yes, that's what we want.
And that's like, it's full, genuinely, like, it is actually genuine. Like, it actually, I love seeing, like, if we teach something to the trainers and then they do it and then you see the client get result, it's like,
that's always the best. I really love, like, hearing what the clients have to say and hearing their journey and then hearing what they say about the team and stuff. That's always...
So to summarize, be positive, be happy, enjoy other people's wins too.
That's it. Don't be a moody, selfish...
Don't be an old... Billy billion hundred.
Ready? I'm putting this on for it. Shooting. Young Daniel, you got this? You getting this?
Getting it.
Cutaways. This means something's happening.
Episode 2 is in the books. Now, you want to subscribe now. When this kicks off, you can tell everyone you're an OG GT Fit
I was
podcast
one of the
supporter.
first 10 subscribers.
I watched the first episode. I was there when they posted it.
Because just wait, when we start getting like 20 people watching, I'm gonna start forgetting who's watching us. And whatever.
Yeah, like,
I'm too popular.
We're kind of a big deal already.
Okay. Don't kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. But yeah, that's episode 2. Episode 3, could there be more changes? Maybe the wolf will have a friend.
Will I get bleeped out more? Will I start banging the chair more again?
Yeah,
Probably.
no hitting the chair today. Pretty good.
Almost.
We're basically professionals.
Pretty good.
Daniel's judging behind the camera right
He
now.
is. But also, you didn't say anything. That's
We
what
said
you.
nothing.
So
You're
that's
meant to
what
be
you-
our young Jamie.
Yeah, you're meant to be young Jamie. Or I'm gonna start bullying you behind the camera now.
I mean, you were going off on a topic.
No. Sometimes you gotta like if the light hasn't been hit, it's safe to interrupt me. If here this is don't. I'm going. I'm actually.
And I
need to
demand.
have the remote, and then I'll strobe it if you do something wrong.
We're still
Yeah.
filming, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. I want them to know this.
Yeah, this needs to.
Absolute fixed mindset. I need a theme song. I want him to hit my theme music when I come in for the podcast.
Can we just play Muay Thai music from the start and just? Your Taekwondo is crap, Gary.
Yeah. Well, episode 2 done. Episode 3. Tune in to find out what we talk about.
Waiters.
Lights off. Goodbye.